because it's not really attached to the general election as it were. Yes, indeed. And we on the ground, as you saw, we have our reporters there in Mombasa, Kakamega, in Kitui Rural. We have also our reporters on the ground in Pokot South. Momentarily, we shall be touching base with them as well to tell you what is happening on the ground as well. I'm holding court this morning with Joy Mudivo, who is an advocate of the High Court. We have as well Akiba Mugai, advocate of the High Court. We have Wilson Susion, who is a politician and former immediate nominated member of parliament and the newly elected senator of Kisii. We want to congratulate you once more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Say cheers here. I don't have my cup with me. Yeah. But back to business. I think serious questions that have been raised so far, and I want to circle back with where Joy left so that you can pick it, and Wilson Susion, that this was a scheme. The word scheme, she's used that. The 4 commissioners, when they came to office, it was a scheme. But we saw there was a vacancy, that it was a prolonged vacancy there within the commission. For the longest time, we had the 3 commissioners holding forte for the commission, and it was constitutionally, passing the threshold of what is the requisite number. People were saying, oh, this is an incorrect, commission. But at the end of the day, they could hold a by-election. People say also, they were very bullish that we can actually carry out a full-blown general election. But we've seen so far, why would you say that there was a scheme? And by then, things were okidori, if we could use such a slang at the end of the day.
Let me lay my basis so that the gentleman around this table can either support or disabuse my assertion. I am convinced that it was not by coincidence that these 4 were appointed at the time that they were appointed, because it was expedient for them to be appointed. Like you said, the IEBC had been functioning as a 3-man commission for almost all their term, really, because Akombe resigned during the last election, and the other 3 resigned shortly thereafter. So for the bulk of the time when this commission has been in office, they have been operating, the 3 of them. The matter was litigated all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court held that because the constitutional threshold for a current commission is 3, that this commission was duly constituted. So therefore, there was no need to urgently fill these vacancies, but in September it became expedient for these vacancies to somehow be filled. And I use the word expedient, that it was of benefit at the time, because somebody had done some mathematics, some calculations, and realized, you know what, it would make sense if I have people on the inside. And that's why I'm saying it is a scheme, because the appointing authority had all this time to fill those vacancies, despite numerous calls to do so, chose to not do it, went through the BBI process with these 3 commissioners, and at that time there was no problem. But in the very last sense, against even what Kriegler had said in his commission, he said we shouldn't populate the commission with new commissioners at least 2 years prior to the election. But here with literally months, we populate the commission, and then we have a situation where you've got people with a lot of experience working with people who've got almost 0 experience, and what you have is a new patch on an old cloth, and it tore.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's hear from Sosion on that particular note, because she thinks it was a providential time for them to be actually put in place, but there was a vacancy there. Where was there a tearing rush from the executive to try and fill in these positions? And he had all the time in his hands to actually do that. Why wait until September?
You're reading through the affidavit of Professor Guli, and I think that's a respected scholar who is working at the commission, and reading through the affidavit of Wafula Chebukati, you can now see the objective of those who are trying to mess up and bungle this election. And the intention was to cause a coup. In fact, I would describe the drama at Bomas as an attempted coup against a validly elected president, and an intention to subvert the decision of the people of Kenya. In fact, we don't need to look at legalistic aspects of it. Let's look at, indeed, the process. The election by IEBC was
the process is
free,
the process
fair.
is legalistic. The process
yes.
is legalistic. So
Dibal, protect me from an excited panel.
No, it's just
No, I'm not excited.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be
it's not
factual.
Correction, but
Yeah.
I'm saying let us not concentrate on the other aspects of the law and forget about the actual process, which of course was free and fair. That IEBC conducted one of the most transparent and verifiable elections ever in the history of this country. But then those who had intention to undermine the outcome. In fact, when you look at the affidavit of the chair and the other commissioners, and you can see a National Security Advisory Committee was dispatched to Bomas. And these are sworn affidavits under oath. And these are facts we should speak to. National Security Advisory Committee, and of course it was made up of one Kennedy Kihara, one Kennedy Ogeto, and one General Ogola, the Deputy Chief of Staff, and Hilary Mutiambai, to come and tinker and change the figures so that whoever did not win election could be declared a winner.
Dibal.
How else?
Point
How
of order.
else?
Point of order.
How else?
Point
How
of
else?
order.
How else?
I would want to make a very special request.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Onyonge, you are not the chair. You are not the anchor of this.
No, I am.
Allow me to finish.
Mr. Susion.
But I wonder.
would
No, no.
say-
You've been in the house.
Just a moment. Just a moment, Sosion. You know, so when you say tinker and change, what
Yeah,
lordly rights
it's
does
unfair.
Hilary
It's
Mutiambai
unfair.
have, and Kennedy?
Because that's
And
propaganda.
Ogola.
All of us have
Just a
read.
moment.
All of us.
That's
all
propaganda.
Of us, all of us have read the affidavit.
An affidavit doesn't mean
All of us
anything.
have read
An
the
affidavit is.
All of us have read the
All right.
affidavit.
But the
Okay,
affidavit
just-
did
just-
not
An
say
yeah,
affidavit did not
It's
say
a-
that. It didn't.
Can you quote
confirm
that particular? We have the affidavits here. We
Yes,
can actually
it
quote
can be
what
read.
particulars
It doesn't
you
say
can-
that.
The affidavit.
It doesn't
Just
say
a
that.
moment.
That this group that of the National Security Advisory Committee, which automatically reports to the National Security Committee, which is chaired by the President himself. And of course, there was a follow-up call from Joseph Kinyo that a team has been sent to brief you on a specific direction. So the facts here from the affidavits is that this group of the 4 commissioners who supported the recommendations of the advisory committee that you change the numbers is a clear testimony that what was going on
All right,
at
thank you.
Bomas was deliberate intention to overturn the decision of the people of Kenya. And that fundamentally is wrong. And I would say, and I agree with Brevo very strongly, that the 4 commissioners were chaperoned to IEBC to achieve certain intentions. And in fact, I personally have credible information that the 4 were forced out of Bomas through a phone call and instruction from Arambe House. That's a fact. These are facts.
No.
that we have.
How do you prove that?
Dibal,
fact?
Dibal.
No, those are
These are all hearsay.
I'm
Dibal.
entitled to my own
that you
statement.
don't have
Thank you.
unconfirmable facts.
Statement.
Good.
Thank
And
you.
They did leave.
No, I wanted
and,
to
and we have seen all the drama. We have seen the affidavits, and we will see what will happen in the Supreme
Thank
Court.
you. I have the affidavits. If you could quote just-
truthfully speaking, the 4 commissioners who were brought in to the IEBC and they've demonstrated their inability and incompetencies even to, they even don't understand the process that went on at the IEBC. Their intentions were actually to execute the overturning of the will of the people of Kenya, which really, I would call it a coup.
Thank you. Thank you.
You intend to...
All right, thank you. You've had your
Take a
moment.
coup.
Thank you. You've had a moment.
It's very
Thank you.
it's
Thank you.
unfortunate.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
indeed
you, Sosion.
unfortunate.
Richard Onyonka.
Dibal, I would want us to be a little bit more careful what to say. This is a national TV station. The matter that we are discussing, Honorable Susion, is in front of the Supreme Court. So I'll start from where we started. And I want to discuss what Joy raised. He's the one who started with that narrative. That these were commissioners who were hatched up and put together because their intent and purpose, after all, presumably, quote unquote, this was actually an illegal outfit of individuals who were brought in for the sole purpose of making sure that the elections are stolen. I want to say this. If there was anything illegal by Sister Joy about the illegality of these commissioners being there, then that should have been challenged in a court of law.
Who said they were illegally there?
No, you are saying that this was an outfit.
They're legally in office even now.
Just hold on.
Of tenure.
Just hold on. You said that this was a scheme. You
Yes.
see, when it is a scheme, then it has a connotation. And I know you said you're a lawyer. I would like us to look at the political commentary and the legal commentary. I want to deal with both so that we understand each other. Politically, your argument that this was a scheme makes sense. But legally, it doesn't make sense. These were bona fide commissioners who up to now are actually legal members of a commission that is legally
No doubt
enshrined
about that.
in the Constitution.
No doubt.
Honorable Sushan, I'm actually addressing her.
You carry on. Carry on,
Dibal,
Mashal.
protect
I'll
me.
protect you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number two, the issue about this election is very simple. There have been issues that have been raised by both sides. All right? There are people who have said this election was taking place. There have been individuals that have been caught with ballot papers being stuffed into boxes. Those boxes that have been stuffed, there is evidence to the same. We would want to know where did those ballot boxes come from and who gave them out. It's supposed to be by the IEBC. Or rather, who actually produced these ballot boxes, which have been found as evidence available in different parts of this country, including one which came out last night, that there were ballot boxes which were actually found and then in some police station in Kakamega. Shouldn't we ask these questions? Point number two, I want to very sincerely discuss that affidavits, when they're signed, and I'm happy we have two lawyers here, an affidavit is a statement according to what an individual feels to be their truth. So whatever that Chebukati is saying, whatever that Professor Walia is saying, whatever that anybody is saying, and whatever that the other four that you are calling a scheme are saying, this is a matter that should be left to the Supreme Court to interpret. We can't sit here and pontificate issues which are actually untruths because we go further to misinform the Kenyan public as to what has happened in this election. And the issue that is in this election, which I think all of us should be looking at, is this. Number one, the truth is the country is split right in the middle, which is okay in a democracy. But point number two, the figures that we are talking about in the whole of this election, which determines whether the president-elect, William Ruto, should continue being president, the fact that he has got 50+1, and the fact that Raila, who is supposed not to have been announced as the president-elect, has got about 49%. So we are talking about between 1.5 to 2% of the vote. The question that I'm raising is this. If today you actually had a team of individuals who have been given a responsibility constitutionally, and this is a commission. This is a commission. Whether that commission was scheming, planning, and organizing to tilt or change the elections or make sure that this election is stolen, shouldn't it bother this panel sitting here that that cannot be a normal practice in normal democracy? That shouldn't we be asking ourselves, how can you have the two individuals or the three individuals or the seven individuals in this case who are supposed to be the ones chaperoning us and explaining to us systematically, yes, we went and brought the ballot papers. They came in from wherever they came in. They say they came from Greece. Some of these commissioners have actually stated that they believe that there was opaqueness in terms of how all these ballot papers came. If you remember what happened in the last elections, when all the ballot papers were being brought into the country, all the commissioners went to Greece, all the commissioners came back with the ballot papers at the airport, all the commissioners stated that actually the Form 34As, Form 34Cs, and 34B and C were all audited, and everybody knew what the results were going to be. Then the commissioners in the previous IEBC disagreed. So we have come back to the same point again, where the issues that we are discussing, my brother Sosion, is very simple. We have certain results being challenged that when you had Form 34A, which said somebody had 120 votes, by the time there was a transiting from this polling station, which is supposed to be the basis under which we tally our election, when Form 34A was being transmitted from the ground to the IEBC headquarters in Nairobi, the figures changed. Some of those polling stations have got actually figures that don't add up. The question we are saying is this: can't we as Kenyans be in a position where we say, let us agree, let us know what the truth is? Because if this matter is not sorted out once and for all, you remember, Dibal, one of the rulings that came out of the Supreme Court ruling from the previous case of 2017 was that finally it was accepted, and I know Kibe will agree with me, that the Form 34A that comes from a polling station at the village, at the Mashinani, at the polling station number 11001, which is Soko Primary School where I vote, is so important. And once you have that form, which is not supposed to have been altered, once you have that form, which was not supposed to have been changed, when you have that form where all the agents were had signed for it, or signed on it saying that we agree with the figures which are here, then naturally you take that Form 34A and then take it to 34B. If 34B tallies with 34A, then you go to 34C to declare who the president is.
Thank you.
Number two, I completely agree. Those who say that most probably the chairman of the commission is actually the one who's entitled to make that announcement. But I believe once again, we would want the Supreme Court to give us the proper direction on whether indeed should the chairman of the IEBC be the one who makes all the decisions, makes all the announcements, makes every decision pertaining to the election, or whether the commission as set jointly is the one which is actually supposed to make those decisions as a team and not as an individual. Finally, Dibal, and I know we are running out of time, I would like to say this. You saw the latest story that has come out. Some individuals, Chebukati's affidavit is saying that Mr. Tuju went and looked for him, and they went out and they said ABCD. But Mr. Tuju has come up and said, I would want Mr. Chebukati and his team to tell you why they came to meet me in my house.
Let them do it in an affidavit.
Just wait.
Let it finish.
Just wait. Just wait. Just wait. You don't know whether he has given. You don't know whether he has given an. Just hold on.
And affidavits that are actively in court. Yeah.
He said he has done an affidavit.
He says he has done. So please allow me to make my argument.
And what Chebukati is referring to is a proper meeting that he convened with
Honorable Sosion. Honorable Sosion.
With the commission.
Honorable Sosion. That's not what I'm discussing. That's what I'm saying.
So
Don't go there. Don't go there. What I am saying, Tuju has said, he's not talking about the meeting where they were with the Wako and the other team. He's saying there is a meeting where Chebukati and the two other commissioners went to a private place with him. And he has challenged them. He has said, wait.
Who convened them?
Please wait. Please wait.
Was it convened by
Please
Chebukati or Tuju?
Can you just let him finish, please, so that we can head to...
Given him all the time.
No. Let him finish. Then I gave you all the time as well. Yeah. That's so that we can go to Kibi. He's been fairly silent for the longest of time.
Thank you, sir. I know sometimes these things are difficult to handle, but I don't want to be emotional about it.
No, we're not being emotional.
Because we are on national TV, I would like us not to mislead our public. What I am saying is this.
Okay.
The question I was raising about that meeting is this. Is that proper? Shouldn't we worry about this? Shouldn't we realize that an election is supposed to be seen and an election is supposed to be a free and fair exercise?
Thank you. Let's leave it at
that. That is all I'm saying. So for now, let us not make these wild allegations on social media about how people are planning to say.
Even for the sake
let
of
us
time,
wait
for the sake of time, because I think also we're treading waters when we hack back to all these issues of affidavits that is in the public domain. I think now it is within the ambit of the Supreme Court now to actually tease out these issues and determine.
That's all I'm saying.
If we hack back, I think also we are really wasting. So we're treading waters on that. I just want us to move on forward. Kibi, I don't know what you've picked up from this conversation so that now we can carry on with my next question first of all. Before
I think let me talk about something. And first of all, so that because I don't want Honorable Sosion or anybody else to misunderstand, my invitation said I'm coming here to speak as a constitutional lawyer.
Yes.
But of course on a political issue.
Sure.
Let me start first of all with the political issue. On the political issue, I only participated in the issues of 9th as a voter. Okay? Now, after we cast our votes,
you went for,
and first of all, for purposes of the results of the votes, my own family is split, led by my mother. Half of it was pro-Ruto. Another half was pro-Azimio. So as far as the two candidates are concerned, whoever who becomes president at the end of the day, I do not have a lot of personal difficulties with that. Okay? So having said that, I come now to the issues where I'm here. I'm here as a constitutional lawyer speaking on a political issue. Now the Constitution requires that IEBC should have 7 commissioners. It is actually regrettable that for the longest time there were only 3 commissioners, and that had its own problems and several court decisions. So the appointment of the other 4 commissioners, and it is not done by the president alone. It is a process that there is a panel that is appointed according to the law, and there is a law made by Parliament. Then it goes to Parliament, and finally the president's role is largely formal to make the appointment. That was compliance with the law. So this is the first time, and I probably, Joy, should revisit this, where compliance with the law is termed as a scheme. To complete IEBC was important. Number 2, it is important to say that some commissions have 3 people, like the EACC, IEBC, when the makers of the Constitution deliberately say they want 7 people. One of the issues was to ensure that you have legitimacy. That given the mandate of IEBC, an important political mandate, you needed to ensure that they are chosen through an elaborate process, and where in a multi-ethnic society, the fact that all of us are involved in a process, you can inspire that credibility. So that, for example, you can be able to see, because so-and-so was there, they could not have conspired against us. That is part of the process. And this is the reason why, therefore, because by law a commission consists of 7 members, it is important under the Constitution, because it talks about transparency and accountability and of course legitimacy, that the commission do function as a commission. It is the one that holds election. Okay? So that at the end of the day, after discharging your mandate to hold an election, what is the outcome? Those of us who are told vote and go home wanted to see a commission as its corporate entity as defined by the Constitution to tell us these are the results. We wanted to see and displayed, if 50+1 has been arrived, exactly how has this been achieved? ISO, KTN, Nation and Citizen, all of them trying to make sense of Forms 34A, they could not make any sense out of it. And therefore, the IEBC, the display that was supposed to be shown, at some time it was pulled down. So that from the point of view of a voter, these are matters of great concern that we cannot be able to run away from. When the matter, because at the end of the day, and the reason why, for example, even in the last election, the Constitution, the law says, elections is not just about numbers.
It's a process.
Okay? It is a process on how did we arrive at the numbers. Okay? So that at the end of the day, if it is a process on how we arrived at the numbers, where the people charged with this mandate, some of them say the numbers are okay. Others are saying they are not okay. What is a decision maker sitting as a judge supposed to make out of this? Are you saying, and we are waiting for that? I'll be appearing, let me disclose that. I'll be appearing before the Supreme Court because I filed one of the petitions, okay, on behalf of some clients, okay? But the big issue ultimately, in my view, is going to be where there is a split, some of the commissioners, constitutionally mandated to be in the team that manage the elections, are saying this number lack legitimacy. The other three says the numbers have legitimacy. It's a big issue. Probably I reduce it as I end to a thing that all of us would associate with. All of us are parents or have been parents with the children whom we go to school. When I go to school, I meet about 7 or so teachers responsible for my children, okay? Now, they call it open day. Nowadays, it's supposed to be closing day. It's interesting nowadays. Now, when you go for those open days, now you see many teachers. Some tells you your kid has been performing this way or the other, and another one. So that at the end of the day, when they say your kid passed or did not pass, is a corporate decision. But how would we feel? And Sosion here is a teacher. The headmaster is saying your kid passed. The deputy headmaster said, no, your kid did not pass. Even as a parent, you would not really say, this is okay. So we are actually, this is the kind of problems we are facing. It is an unprecedented problem as a constitutional lawyer.
Yes.
The bigger questions for me is this. The chances that we are staring at a serious constitutional crisis is real. And I believe for me that's a big issue. Not these political issues. Because political issue, all of these, I don't think even there is so much significant difference between Honorable William Ruto and Honorable Raila Odinga. They were basically voted across the board. People can live with it. But what Kenyans deserve at the end of the process is to say, if Ruto is going to be the president of Kenya, the process, because Kenyans were split almost into two, the process was transparent and was acceptable. I think for me that's important.
Right. Let's come to you first of all. And you raised the issue of the rabbit chase, right? We have, standing at now, 9 petitions. And the Supreme Court is really pinched for time, given that when they filed those petitions and today, of course, days have been very swiftly peeling off the calendar. These are humans at the end of the day. There's no way they're going to come through all these 9 petitions. Let's just be realistic. It cannot really happen. Some of them, you say, oh, you know, this is like, you know, throwing the mud, hoping that some will stick at the end of the day. But looking at the 9 petitions, and I know all of you have gone through these petitions, Sosion, you, Kibera as well, and Richard Onyonka. What do you think holds the greatest veracity that the court will say this one is what will really go for the jugular? Because these others, I think, you know, they're just red herrings. You know, we're just chasing after the wind at the end of the day. You're not really saying all these 9 petitions, but of course, realistically.
Okay, what realistically is going to happen is I'm sure between the judges and their researchers, they have decanted through all the petitions, distilled the issues, and have condensed them into what questions ought to be raised. Now, like I said earlier, as far as I'm concerned, there's no constitutional crisis festering or pending anywhere, because the Constitution is very clear. Within 14 days, tell us of the filing of the petition, tell us whether you uphold or you do not uphold the decision of the IEBC. That's the only question the Supreme Court has to answer within the next 14 days. The rest of the issues can be canvassed over the next several months, if that's what it comes to. The only question that must be answered by next Monday is whether or not the election results as declared by Chebukati on August 15th stand or do not stand. That is the only question that the Supreme Court needs to answer by Monday next week.
Allow me to latch in. If then it doesn't really stand at the end of the day, we have Azimio stating that, you know, we don't want the current chair to actually be holding any other election after that, if it doesn't stand.
Like I said, with Akina Charara, they have security of tenure. It's not up to we want or we do not want. We have a commission that's on seat. The commission that is on seat is the one with the mandate, the legal mandate given by the Constitution and with enabling statutes to conduct an election. So if we need to do an election within 60 days, again, The Constitution is very clear. If it is an annulment, we have 60 days to do an election. That takes us to November the 7th.
With the composite of this IEBC
there's no
as
crisis.
it is.
We know what is supposed to happen, when it is supposed to happen, who is supposed to do it. In my opinion, until politicians get out of the process of identifying IEBC commissioners, we'll always have this thing. And I stand by my earlier assertion that it was a scheme. And I stand by it because of this. If it was not a scheme, Kibe Mungai here has filed a matter. He filed a petition before even the election, presenting 11 petitioners to say that in the event William Ruto becomes president, he should be stopped from being sworn in. And here he's trying to convince us that he doesn't have a dog in this fight. It's one of those things that tells you that the precipitation or the anticipation that this might not go one way was always at the back of somebody's mind. And so they made contingency plans to ensure that it goes another way. Because how else do you explain the fact that we have commissioners who performed their duties and were on station until noon on the day when the announcement is supposed to be made? Who organized for a press conference at Serena? Who paid for it? Who convened it? You want to tell me while they were doing their duties at the Bomas, they had the temerity to also to do this on the other side? But let me get away from the scheme of things. Let me go back to sticking to the law.
But before you go sticking to the law, it will be fair also to just say, because all of you, from Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, you've been preparing for any eventuality, right? And I think also it is upon his discretion to actually prepare as well for any eventuality.
That is fine.
Because the way now you're framing him is like, they were not really prepared for a president-elect.
I have not framed it in any such way.
Or the way you are actually expressing it.
All I'm saying is everybody was prepared.
That's what I'm saying. For you to say that he has actually been going preparing for, in the event, you say, we have President-elect William Ruto as the president-elect, then they're not really prepared for that. But everyone has been preparing at the end of the day.
He filed a petition on behalf of 11 petitioners before the election even happened to say that in the event that the election yields the result that William Ruto and Gachagua have been elected as president, that they should not be sworn into office by virtue of Chapter 6 violations. It's a matter that is still pending before the Supreme Court. It's not part of this cocktail of petitions right now, but it is a matter that is pending.
So this is an issue of integrity at the end of the day?
No, all I'm saying is for Kibe to sit here and tell us that he has no dog in this fight is being a bit economical with the truth.
All right.
I think I should answer that.
Let me give you a chance to rebut on that. Then you hold on to it. Don't forget it.
I will not forget.
We have a couple of cases. All of us are involved during petitions. One of the issues is that people come to you, we want to raise certain issues. Now, when an issue was raised with regard to the Chapter 6 of the Constitution, with regard to Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, I didn't charge him. He has several cases that are pending. It's a matter of public notice. When people came to my office to try and deal with that issue, I had to give legal advice. When and how do you file that petitions to deal with the issue of eligibility of Honorable Rigathi Gachagua under Chapter 6? The law used to be that if a person is disqualified for whatever reason, including Chapter 6, you raise it through an election petition. However, in 2013 and in 2015, the Supreme Court made certain decisions whose effect was saying, and Judge Lenaola, I remember, and Chief Justice Maraga wrote dissenting opinion. And they said that where there is a reason that so-and-so is disqualified, and it is known before the election is held, it ought to be raised before the date of the election. Okay? So that if my clients come with a problem, that Rigathi Gachagua has not been validly nominated, following the law as interpreted by the Supreme Court, you needed to file it before the election day. So that for someone now to say that advising your clients to follow the law as interpreted by the Supreme Court makes you have a dog or whatever, I'm at a loss. Of course, as a candidate, and that's where we started. As a Kenyan voter, I had the right to make an opinion the same way.
So you're
my
meeting
mother
the
made an
constitutional
opinion.
timelines as well?
Precisely.
Okay.
So that was the law. So that let us not drag issues of where you are saying you have given an advice based on the law as interpreted by the Supreme Court. Probably, and I believe. I think that the dissenting opinion of Judge Lenaola and Chief Justice Maraga was a correct one. But the majority carries the day.
All right.
That's what we
Thank you for
by.
that clarification.
Yes.
All right. Back to the law.
So as far as I'm concerned, what we are looking at here is a situation where there is an attempt, like you said, throw as much mud as possible and hope that something sticks. Unfortunately, Kenyans do not have the luxury to be treated to these shenanigans. We don't have the luxury because our lives are difficult enough as it is. We have an economy that is on its knees. We have people who are trying to cobble together their life and move forward. We are in a situation where it's not just the presidential election that was carried out on that day. 5 other elections were carried out on that day, of which some of the people sitting around this table are beneficiaries of that process. So for us to sit and isolate the presidential election as being somehow totally flawed is something that is, for me, still difficult to understand. Remember, the threshold for the Supreme Court to annul an election, you must have massive irregularities that render over half of the places where the polls were cast to be unverifiable. The thing that Bukati did this time, and that is why the chairman of the IEBC ought to have the qualifications equivalent to a Supreme Court judge, is he took the judgments from Raila 1, Raila 2, these the previous election petitions, and he decanted the criticisms that were raised. Remember, he's the one who had an election that was annulled before. And he even reduced it into a flowchart and said, this is how I have addressed the criticisms that we saw before, and this is what the commission has done. So one of the things that happened is, this election, for all intents and purposes, is manual. The only bit that is electronic is identification of voters in the KIMS kit and is the transmission of the provisional results, that is the images. The second thing that he did is that he uploaded the things into a portal and made the portal open. That was supposed to deal with transparency. So when you're talking about the figures, Kibe says that the media houses got to a place that they were unable to decipher. The media houses, in my opinion, and I say this with apologies for being on a media station, but reached a place where they refused to keep tallying. Why do I say that? Because you have ordinary Kenyans who downloaded all 46,000 from 34As and managed to arrive at a tally. You have ELOG who did the same. You have the international observers who did the same. All the people who are observers, the reports that they have issued, bar none, have said, by the way, what the IEBC has announced and what we found as our tally are within acceptable margins. Even now, with the ones who have gone to the petition to the Supreme Court, I've looked at the petitions, and I tell you, there's not a single petition that says, as guys found, we have 8 million and IEBC gave us 6. All of them are talking about birds of the air and beasts of the field. So that is why my conclusion, therefore, must be, we're in a situation where people are trying to precipitate a constitutional crisis where none exists. And as far as I'm concerned, Kenyans shouldn't be paying the ticket, because we're the ones who are paying for all these lawyers. You will see the fee notes that come out of this. All those lawyers who've been instructed are going to raise fee notes. And it's the Kenyan taxpayer who's going to pay for it. It's the Kenyan taxpayer who's sitting here with the uncertainty of how this election has ended, even though everybody, including the petitioners, know exactly how the election ended. This election is one of those elections that was not only transparent, we were able to receive the answer before the announcement was made. So to behave as if when the announcement was made, for some reason, the chairman was acting. In fact, I don't even know why they're trying to single out Chebukati, because Chebukati did not conduct all the 46,000 elections. There are other people who did. And where we have reached, as a matter of priority, our political class needs to stop holding Kenyans at ransom and holding them captive for their own political ends, and allow the Supreme Court to do its job and deliver a verdict. It's only until next Monday.
But the numbers, are they adding up? Because from at the end of the day, we can say it's a process. This was a huge chunk of Justice Maraga's, decision to nullify this election, the electoral process itself. But I think the biggest chunk that people are really, at the horn of the sharpest dilemma is the fact that we have numbers which are being computed within the IEBC itself. So we have Chebukati, with that declaration and the figures, and we have also the OPEC4, as you call them,
What have they presented as the alternative figures?
At the end of the day, with opaqueness and the computation that now has become, the butt of a joke, even in the public arena, as it was.
I think, Dibal, and as has been stated, we are talking about constitutional order and doing things in an orderly way. When we talk of IEBC, commissioners, they obey for insisting on being involved in certain things, when in fact they've been involved. I was an agent.
I think we should protest
and
calling anybody opaque for. That is not the official name.
And
they have names. They have names.
And essentially,
thank you.
And essentially, they were part of the process. I think we must understand that the presidential elections had a person called the returning officer, who is Chebukati. And Chebukati could not announce his own figures. Chebukati could not create numbers at Bomas. The numbers were created at the polling station. Dibal, I think here we are trying to blow issues out of proportions and create a crisis where there is none. It is true, some people want to attempt to bastardize the IEBC and the process of the IEBC. And the role of Chebukati and the work that was done is indeed very much above board. If you look at the processes, and this is what Justice Maraga talked about in 2017, that election is not an event, it is a process. From Forms 34A, they were all verified in an open plenary at Bomas, and we were all involved, agents of all the presidential candidates, and we verified all the 46,000 forms. Form 34A, and all the 290, Form 34B, and all these have been submitted to the Supreme Court. And it is what generated Form 34C, and Form 34C generated Form 34D. And I think the work of the Supreme Court this time round will be very simple. And Dibal, I hope that this is going to be the last contestation that the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has the correct experience. It has ruled in controversial matters in the past, including even the BBI, and we are very sure it is going to rule on this one. The question that is at the High Court and at the Supreme Court and with the judges at the Supreme Court is whether these elections were done transparently. Are they verifiable? Are the numbers also? Do the numbers respect the will of the people of Kenya? And people are bringing out a lot of controversies in terms of mathematics. In terms of calculating the percentage, it's very simple. And the numbers will just add up within Form 34A. And I think the big question at the Supreme Court is about the numbers. And the numbers cannot be recreated. The numbers were in the portal as early as Wednesday. Those who could do tallying, indeed really tallied. So really, I don't see all these other issues being brought about. And that is why I said it was a coup attempt. You cannot try and change the numbers that have been summed together from all the polling stations to give the total numbers that are known. The winner is known. The winner was declared. And let's look at the drama at Bomas. Actually, the drama at Bomas, indeed, as I had stated earlier,
I said we don't really go. We don't need to go to hark back. I think we've had a belly full of.
Thank you. Try and overturn.
Thank you, Sosion.
To try and overturn.
I want us to move
the
forward.
will of Kenyans. So,
because if we have back to the drama, forward, yes,
the matter now is with the Supreme Court.
We're just circling on the same issue.
No, it's
we're not helping.
We wanted to know. We wanted to know. It's actually the action. It is the intention, and however much you try, because the first attempt was to try and use the Cherera, the 4, to try and overturn this number.
Thank you.
And you think you are going to use the same at the Supreme Court? I don't think the Supreme Court will vote and overturn the will of Kenyans. What the Supreme Court shall do, and we expect the Supreme Court to do, is to uphold the will, the decision of Kenyans. And that upholding is within the numbers, and the numbers are known. And it's very simple and clear. And I would want to believe this is going to be the last drama that we take to the Supreme Court.
Thank you. Let's hear from Richard Onyonka.
In a story done by the Daily Nation, Monday the 29th, I quote, "The 3 Venezuelans who were arrested landing in Nairobi had access to the servers of the IEBC.
This is where I was
5 months.
Yes.
5 months before the election started. They were not employees of IEBC. Number two, all the analysis that has been done shows that actually there was interference in the interface between Form 34A and Form 34B, which then led to 34C, and then which led to D. Number two.
Interference, where it's good you
Just
become clear.
Let him finish.
Clear.
Let him
No,
finish.
Allow me.
let us now be
let him
specific,
finish.
because
Let
I
him
would also want to understand.
You know, we are not here because we are sycophants. Honestly, if William Ruto wins this election, I'll support him. Please allow me to make my arguments, because you are an educated
because we
man.
want to
You are an
understand
educated.
where was the
Wait.
interference.
You are an educated man.
Exactly.
Allow me to
Okay,
make
so
my
Sion,
case.
Thank you. So Sion,
Allow me to make my case.
kindly
Why are
let
you
him have
being
his head.
defensive?
Let him have it. Let him have his
Allow
head.
me to
Yes,
make my
please,
case.
Kindly. All right. Onyonka.
You are highly respected. Please allow me.
Please.
No,
That's all I
make
want.
me understand also.
That is what I'm trying to do, but you don't want to listen.
Let him finish, please.
You don't want to listen.
I'm listening.
I listen to your
Okay.
story. I actually believe that
Mheshimiwa,
you have
just
a case.
continue.
Allow me to make mine so that I have my case.
Thank you.
Then we let the Supreme Court to decide between you and me who's right. That's all I'm trying to do.
Thank you. Continue.
Thank
you. You made your point,
William,
sir.
William has
Thank
been
you.
my friend.
Yeah. Thank you.
I
Thank you,
have
Sion.
no
let's
issues with
forget
him being
about personal.
president.
Let's
Thank you.
discuss
Okay.
issues.
Please allow me.
All right. Kindly.
Number two, Madam Joy said that in fact there were 5 elections and some of us are beneficiaries. Madam Joy, I'll tell you this. Even some of us who have been elected as governors, MCAs, people have gone to court to challenge some of these elections.
Which is
So the unilateral and generalized view you are giving that if deputy president's election is being challenged, then even ours or some of us, I don't know whether somebody has filed a petition against me, but if they did, I would allow them to have due process. So let us not generalize these things. Why? Because this is a very deep matter with Kenyans. It has nothing to do with, by the way, and I've been saying this in other fora, this is not really about the two individuals we are talking about. The problem with our country is that our politics needs to be fixed. Fixed in the sense that we as politicians need to be more responsible, and then we as politicians need to begin to understand that when the elections are seen and deemed to be free and fair, and they
You
are
accept the
acceptable
outcome.
and accepted generally because they were free and fair, people are easily going to be able to cut and move on. That is really what we are looking at. So we don't want to make assumptions which are tailored to suit our political wishes and dreams. The truth is, number one, this election had massive irregularities. Form 34A, some of them have been seen to be scrubbed, some of them have been rubbed off. 24 constituencies were never counted in the final tally of the elections, which were counted for William Ruto to be declared.
Are you sure?
Let him finish.
For Honorable Deputy President William Ruto to be declared the assumptive presidential elect. What we are saying is this: the difference between the winner and the loser was 200,000 votes. We would want fairness and justice to be served by making sure, even if Deputy President William Ruto had defeated former Prime Minister Raila by 30 votes, I would have accepted it. Maybe I would have asked for a recount, and then after that, if it turned out it was 30 votes, I would accept it. What we are asking,
Let me adjust your
some
mic.
of us, and very many Kenyans are actually asking for this. What we are saying is this: let us have an exercise which is believable, which is verifiable, which is accountable to the Kenyan voter who spent hours going to put lines to vote. This has nothing to do with us making accusations on who the commission. The story of the commissioners and their role in this election is understood by everybody. We are Kenyans. We know whether you say Cherera is crazy, whether you say Chebukati has been, it doesn't matter. The facts are there to speak for themselves. The other issue that I wanted to raise is you're saying that observers went out and they have also said, I can tell you this today,
And they have tallied.
There are very many observers who did not know what was happening in the portal between the transmission of the election from the Kim's kit to Form 34B. In fact, for me, what I would want the Supreme Court to rule on is very simple. Take the figures that were in Form 34A, because that is the basis by which we count our votes. Tally those votes. And I hope somebody's done that and is going to present to the Supreme Court. If William Ruto wins with the same margin, I'll accept the verdict.
All the 34As are in the Supreme Court.
Hold on, I don't know that.
Right?
I don't know that.
No,
and I'm assuming you also don't know that.
The law requires within 48 hours.
That is the reason why... Protect me. The reason why we are having a case at the Supreme Court is because there is doubt as to the one.
Thank you.
And allow me the bar.
No, let him finish.
I'm not finished.
Let him finish. No.
Just allow me.
No.
You see.
I know. No. We'll take a short break if you
the
continue.
digital,
Sosion.
the portal.
It is my time to
Sosion,
speak.
can you just finish? I'll give you a chance,
all
please.
the time to
provisional.
You have all
What
the time.
is used to
You
count
have all
is
the
the
time
hard
to respond.
copies.
You
And
have
that
all
was
the
done.
response.
So I think the ball is good with
no,
Just a
What I
moment.
am saying.
I think you need you need to observe some decorum also. Yeah, please. Can we just apportion each time? Whoever deserves that time, without you butting in unnecessarily, so that he can finish his train of thought.
Dibal.
I think you're making the show to be very untidy.
Dibal.
Yes,
the other thing I can do is I can leave and allow him to
allow
answer.
Allow us. We correct certain things.
No. You can hold. Just that's why you have a notebook. Take notes. Then I'll give you a sporting chance to respond. Kindly, please. Let him finish. Then we take a short break. Mheshimiwa, continue.
The point I was making before my colleague and friend rudely interrupted me is very simple. The purpose of having this matter being discussed here and the purpose why this matter is going to the Supreme Court is because we have an election that needs to be verified. Why? Because there have been so many questions raised about the authenticity, the validity, and the conclusion that came out of the tallies which were done from Form 34A to 34B to 34C and finally to D. We are not saying, personally, I have actually nothing personal in Chebukati having declared William Ruto the presumptive president-elect. Even before we had started going to the last leg, which was about 2 months before elections, every smart politician will tell you that you are going to start making sure, one, you prepare for any chances of a petition coming in, one, at the courts, at the local level, and most probably if there's a need, you go to the Supreme Court. What we are saying is, all of us know this was a close election. This is a divisive election. What I would hope and pray for is the leadership and the individuals who are commenting about this election. We are reasonable enough to accept that. Let us allow the Supreme Court, because our two positions are diverging.
Thank you. We need to take a short break. Maybe you can just get a very pithy response from you, Joy, and Kibe. We'll take a short break, then we'll cross over now to Mombasa, where reporters are. You'll just also have to bear with me on that as well. And then we clarify some of these issues that I think also we're splitting hairs on things that are they're within the remit of the Supreme Court as it is. We want to move forward and find out what are the ramifications when we have also the AG coming in and saying, you know, this time forth, I'm not going to challenge any petition. It's done in the previous petitions that we've seen. What does it really portend also for this particular case when the IG has chosen to be neutral? Right? This is the questions also we need to tease out as well. But briefly, I think you spoke last, then can I begin with Joy? Then we close up with you very briefly?
For me?
All right, very briefly, because we are just
now,
about to take a short break. It's 8 o'clock on the nose.
One is when my friend Mr. Sosion talks about this being the last elections, that we are going to have all these issues of the Supreme Court. There's a lot of concern. One of the main reasons why the Supreme Court needs to validate the outcome of a presidential election, particularly where it is contested, it is for the simple reason that the President of Kenya holds a very important position in our political and constitutional order. And therefore, it is my view that one of the very good features of our Constitution is that a person who is declared as president-elect does not assume office until the Supreme Court has said whether that election was valid or it was not valid. Now, question number 2 is that even as we speak about all these affidavits, it is important that the point is not lost. Joy keeps talking about red herrings and everything has been thrown into the Supreme Court. The very many petitioners have had the benefit to read them. They can be separated in several categories. They are raising legitimate issue by themselves. The Supreme Court judges are required by law to go through all of them and ensure the people who have taken them to court have answers that they have sought. And whether the problems that they have presented to the Supreme Court challenging the validity have been proven or are serious enough to cause the invalidation. And therefore, at the end of the process, we want legitimacy, and the role of the Supreme Court is to ensure that legitimacy in the presidential outcome is maintained.
Thank you. Thank you, Joy.
It is important for us to understand that what the Supreme Court is called upon to do is to either uphold or nullify the decision of the IEBC. It is not within the ambit of the Supreme Court at this point to go back and do verification. That is what the political parties, as well as the IEBC and the observers, did in Bomas for 5 days. They sat down with the physical. Forget about what is uploaded in the portal. They sat down with the physical, because this is what happened. What was uploaded in the portal and transmitted from the ground were provisional results. Those provisional results, when they arrived at the portal, Kenyans were able to download them and start their own tally. But Chebukati did not rely on those. He waited for the returning officers. That's why we saw a lapse of like about 2 days before any official results started coming out, because he waited until the returning officers physically delivered the hard copy original Form 34As that were being checked for authenticity, up to and including using UV light to look for the security features in the Form 34As. And it is the tally from the physical Form 34As that he used to be able to make the announcement. Now, because there are over 46,000 forms, the Supreme Court has no time to go back and tally them afresh. And that's why I was saying this is a situation where if somebody has got an alternative tally or has got alternative documentation, it is important for them to bring it forth. Because as much as people are raising concerns, as Kibe has said, they're raising concerns. Those concerns are important in growing the jurisprudence and defining how future elections will be held. But in determining this instance, the bottom line remains, are they upholding or nullifying the election? That's the only thing that they need to answer. And in answering that, as and I think that's what Sosion was trying to allude to earlier, by law, once a petition has been filed challenging the presidential election, the IEBC is supposed to deliver to the Supreme Court those original Form 34As for safekeeping. So they're actually indeed at the Supreme Court. I think that's the point he was trying to make.
Thank you. We'll circle back. Thank you. We'll circle back with you, Sosion. But just remember as well, even as we're having this debate, we have the elections ongoing in Kakamega, in Mombasa, Kachaliba, in Pokot South, in Rongai, in Nakuru there, and also in Kitui Rural. And we have our reporters on the ground. Dal Masekali is in Nakuru. He will be telling us more before we take that, or when we circle back from a break. Also, we have Tobias Chanji at the coast and Sada Hassan as well. And we'll be crossing over momentarily also to our own